Well, hello again. Pastor Ray Barnett here, and I'm glad that you could be with me for another broadcast of God's Answers for Anxiety and Depression. As always, I want to wish you a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening, depending on what time you're watching this broadcast. Well, again yesterday, as you know, I was in my car, in my driveway, doing the lesson for you because I ran out of options and patience to find a better location. Today, though, as I've been soliciting your prayers for some direction on how to rearrange my schedule so I can get all the work done that I have to get done, as well as doing these broadcasts, which I told you is a priority for me to do these lessons with you and for you. Also, I've let go for several months now my another doctoral dissertation that I started working on it in the early part of the summer, June to be specific. And well, first of all, when I sat down to begin, I had just finished another doctoral dissertation last year, and when I sat down this year to complete yet another one, it immediately struck me, and I said, "Oh man, I forgot." Excuse me, just how much work this really is. When you do academic writing, it's different than, well, certainly different than blogging. It's different than even writing a book, novel, let's say, because you have to have your references straight. You just can't, um, well, I'll say give information or your opinion on a subject. You have to have all kinds of references and whatever. It's a lot of work. At least it is for me. But I do enjoy it. I got to tell you that I do enjoy it. But when I sat down in June of this year and began to work on it, I got through the abstract. I got through the first chapter, and then I said, "Oh man, I got to take a break from this. I'm not quite up to it." Anyway, I'm trying to rearrange my schedule so I could do these broadcasts for you, as well as do my dissertation and the multiplicity of other duties and responsibilities that I have. And please remember me in prayer with this cardiac issue. I don't think it's a real big deal, but for as an ongoing cardiac patient, you have to keep an eye on every little development, and I do appreciate your prayers in general, and I thank you for responding, those of you who said that you have been praying for me. Anyway, so today I'm here in what is our family room, and I'm quite unkempt because I need to wedge all these things in. And today I'm going to get back to work on my dissertation, so it was more convenient. This family room here is quite a large room, and it's convenient. This is where I work when I work from home, as far as studying and writing and researching and whatever I do. This is where I work from this room when I'm not down at my office, which frankly is it's easier for me to work from home with all the technology that we have now. It's not necessary, as it was for many decades, for me to have to be down in my office, going into my library and physically removing books. And well, you get the picture. This is a part of my very small section of our family room. I think I'm going to take a minute here to show you my new home gym. I want to see if you can see it over there. This is our family room. And there it sits. This is the Bowflex Extreme 2 SE. No, I'm not getting any endorsement from Bowflex for doing this little commercial here. But you can see it. And you could do 70 different exercises on this. It's very convenient. As you can see, well, it's pretty tall, right? That stands probably about 8 feet in the air, but the base of it, I'll show it to you there. The base of it doesn't take up so much room, and it's amazing how much you can actually get done with it taking up limited space. So this is something I just started really seriously working out on it yesterday, and it's just good to start to feel those muscles responding already. 7 months come November the 9th, which is still a few weeks ahead of us, until my gym opens back up again and I can start hitting the iron. Anyway, just thought I would show you a little bit of my workspace, my workout space, and we have a very good size home. It has a lot of room in it. I'm grateful for that. Okay, so what does all this have to do with anxiety and depression? Absolutely nothing at all. I just thought I'd ramble a little bit and give an explanation as to yesterday I'm in my car and today I'm in the family room. But we're going to have to get used to this as the weather is changing, and I'm committed to doing these broadcasts, so I'm going to have to do them here, there, and everywhere if I'm going to be working on my doctoral dissertation. It's a lot of work and takes a lot of hours. Okay, so enough of all that for introduction. I wanted to check in with you on the topic that I've been covering lately. This would be the third lesson on overcoming insomnia. Now remember that insomnia, well, I'll say often, goes part and parcel with anxiety and or depression, difficulty sleeping, difficulty falling asleep, difficulty staying asleep. And amazingly, I did the video or did the broadcast yesterday for you, and then there was a friend of mine who I hadn't heard from him in a while here on social media, and I just decided to check in with him, see how he was doing. And when he responded, he was telling me how one of his difficulties lately has been the whole turning the brain off at night. And so I sent him the link from yesterday's broadcast. It was very convenient. You know, it's very important to be led by the Holy Spirit in these discussions or these teachings, because the needs God only knows, even though almost every subject that we've covered is a need almost every day of the week. Okay, so I'm checking in with you on, are you practicing? Are you trying this particular technique? And the reason I say it and phrase it that way is because it's really not an easy thing to do. Again, in a matter of providence, coincidentally, as I'm teaching you on insomnia, then I've had some difficulties myself sleeping, but more related to some minor issues that I've had going on, which is bringing me to the cardiologist for a second opinion. Nothing major. At least I hope it's not. So I have to practice these things myself. I don't want you to assume that anything that I tell you on these broadcasts are something that, you know, was many, many years ago for me, and I'm not in need of doing the very same things that I'm instructing you. I am doing the same things I'm telling you to do. And I'm also telling you that it works. So I'm checking in with you. I don't know how many of you would like to comment down below and tell me how you're making out with this technique. Some of you have my email address so you can email me. And for those of you who don't know the email address, just you can send me a response, prayer request, or whatever, but a comment if you would on how you're doing with the sleep technique that I'm sharing with you at TFT at timeforevertruth.com. And you can reach me there. That's the website general email box. TFT timefortruth.com. And you can send me a comment. I really would like to know, for some of you who have been battling insomnia, I would like to know how you're making out with this technique. Now, keeping in mind that this is the third installment of my sharing this technique with you, so some of you, if you're really practicing it, haven't gotten too far with it because it's only been a couple of days. But let's go over this again, and let me accent the need for discipline in overcoming anxiety, depression, mental health disorders. As I've accented quite frequently, it is not an easy task to, by way of analogy, to say, to get out of the hole that you find yourself in with anxiety or depression. It's a long, hard climb, and the deeper, of course, you're in it, and the longer you've been in there, it's going to take effort. But as I told you so many times, if you make the effort to make this climb, to make this journey, this odyssey, to get out of the doldrums and of the grip of anxiety and depression, you're going to be very, very glad that you did. So, with respect to insomnia, with respect to the restless nights, with respect to wake up in the morning not feeling refreshed, this technique is one that really works. Now, I don't want to, how should I say this? I don't want to be discouraging anybody when I say this, but I have to be truthful. Very few people will actually follow through on these disciplines, and that's a problem. You see, what you're looking for is a permanent cure. You want to be found in a position where you are no longer dealing with anxiety, at least to the extent that you're dealing with it now, and depression. And in order to do that, you're going to have to follow these lessons that I share with you. Remember, it comes from a lot of years of experience. I mean, most of my adult life, from the time I was in my early 20s, or even late teens, there's been a lifetime of building up experience on this subject, anxiety, depression, and so on. I did a whole other doctoral dissertation on it, which, well, we won't go through that now, but so it's a subject I know very well, and I know that these things I'm sharing with you work, not just for me, but those that I've taught, it's worked for them. And from the various resources that I culled some of this information from, and then made the connection between biblical principles and what others were talking about in the realm of psychology and Christian counseling and so on, I was able to figure out how to work your way around these things. So work your way through these things and come up with a final cure. Just keeping in mind that final cure doesn't mean you're going to be exempt from stress or exempt from depression, occasional depression, anxiety, but you're going to be free. All right, So, going back to the lesson, you find yourself in bed. It's very common to toss, to turn, and to have difficulty turning the mind off, or turning the brain off, which is not is a figure of speech. You're literally turning your brain off, you know that. But to get it to just go into a state of rest, I have shared with you my technique. I'll share it again now, just for purposes of illustration, that's all. Give myself 5 minutes to settle into bed when it's lights off. At that point in time, in that 5 minute period, I have to make up my mind. I put this, what would I call it? I put this standard on myself. Right? This is something I did on my own. I put this standard on myself to give myself a 5 minute, 5 minute introduction to which side am I going to sleep on, left or right. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention something to you also. When I find myself in a hurry, rushing, which is not good, as we go over this lesson so many times, when you're rushing and you're in haste and all of this, it puts an added burden on your nervous system by creating more tenseness. All right, this has been like one of the foundational lessons on God's answers for anxiety and depression. Tenseness, skeletal muscles becoming very tense, and tense for a long period of time, so that you're not even aware that you're tense. I remember just kind of patting a man that was in our church for some years on the back, who suffered quite a lot from schizophrenia. And I'm telling you, his back was like a rock, and not because he was so muscular, partly because of the medications that he was taking, these heavy-duty medications, and partly because of the constant tension that he was under with these very severe symptoms of schizophrenia. But just a quick interlude here. When I find myself rushing, and I do this sometimes if I'm on my way to services, I'm also a musician, drummer, singer, so I'm in the music group. Then I've got the teaching and preaching to do, which you see on the other channel of Time for Truth Ministries here on YouTube. And then there's, usually people to talk to after the service, sometimes some counseling, and so it's a busy day. And what I'll do is I find myself rushing and I can feel the frustration. I will sit in my car and do the exact same thing that I do at night, every night. I'll look at the clock and I'll give myself 5 minutes just to slow down. And sometimes I'm even a bit behind as far as being late. I will sit in the driveway where I was yesterday, in my car where I was yesterday, and I won't do anything. I will listen to music, nothing. I'll sit there and wait for 5 minutes to go by on the clock. Sometimes, if I'm really uptight, I'll take 10 minutes. This is to break the rhythm of rushing, to stagger it, to give it some impedance, right? Like you have electrical impedance. I give it some impedance to just break that thing from me just rolling on more and more and more. Okay, that's a little interlude and very good advice. And when you find yourself rushing, take a break. These are those little mini vacations I was mentioning yesterday. Okay, now back to bed. So 5 minutes for me, make a decision, right side, left side. Make a decision, left side. That's it. I cannot change my mind. I will not change my mind. Then I initiate a command to all of my muscles, from the toes to the top of my head to the tips of my fingers, everything. No moving at all. No motion. Don't make an excuse for yourself like getting up, pacing around, going over here, going down, hitting the refrigerator. Because if you do, then the habit that I talked to you about this yesterday, the habit that I'm trying to accomplish with you will not develop. You're going to develop a habit of half practice. Let me just say something about that. Half practice, it doesn't work. Half practice doesn't work. Now the body's getting used to saying, we do a little of this, but we still do this over here. There can't be any negotiation on this. Or many of the principles that I am sharing with you on this channel. You can't negotiate your way through like kind of doing it, or trying, or I'll give it a try. I made a statement to someone just the other day, and an observation. I said, you really got to stop that. It's not a good habit, and gave some reasons. And the response was, well, I'll give it a try. I said, no, do it. Just do it. See, when we say giving it a try, we're almost admitting that we're not really going to give it 100% of our effort. All right, so back on topic with insomnia. You lay in the bed. The temptation is to toss, to turn, to get up, sigh, get frustrated. And what happens is you add more and more tension to the skeletal muscles, the brain, all of this. Now, maybe you've thought this through. So you say, all right, I tried that, and I'm laying perfectly still, but my mind, I can't shut it off. Well, here's the secret. The Chinese handcuff that I talk about every so often. Don't try to shut the mind off. Just let it run. Just let it go. Just don't move your muscles. Because then the body is communicating to the brain, hey, what are you so excited about? What's the problem? We're over here, down here, laying on the pillow and underneath the blankets and on top of the mattress, and we're calm. And the brain will respond to that. So the will gives a command to the muscles, don't move. Do not move. Then the muscles are now sending up a signal to the brain while it's racing, okay? So many of you have that problem. While the brain is racing with troubles and problems and complications of life and all of these things, just let it go. Don't trouble yourself about it. Because eventually, as I mentioned yesterday, it'll just start to slow down. These are the racing thoughts, the busy mind, the inability to shut off your thoughts, which is not really an inability. It's just, at this point, for many of you, it's just ignorance of how to do it. And then if once you're informed on how to do it and you don't follow the instructions, well, then it's no more ignorance. Then it's just you're not making the type of effort it's going to take to break the cycle of insomnia, and also on the other general principles that we have covered and will continue to cover on the subject of anxiety and depression, you're not going to have success. So it has to be done in a very determined way, all of these principles, but now with insomnia. So you lay there still. You followed Pastor Ray's advice. He said, Pastor Ray says it works, so I guess it does. But then you try it once, twice, and it didn't work. It's not once or twice. It's got to be again and again and again and again until you see for yourself that what I'm talking about really works. Just that's where the discipline comes in. Not quitting, not getting discouraged, not giving up. So let me just finish with this. So yeah, you got the body under control, and you got it in the zone of not moving a muscle, but your brain won't shut off. And what I'm saying to you is, don't fight it. Just let it go. Just let it go. Just let it do whatever it's going to do, and just don't pay it any attention. Because eventually, as the muscles communicate back to the brain, hey, we're at rest down here, the brain will respond. See, this correlation is amazing. We always thought it was all up here and the body down here had nothing to do with it, but they always work together. And one thing I want to tell you, always remember that God has created the body, that it's always working for you. And the simplest little thing, like a paper cut, the body's always trying to heal itself on every level. And that includes heart disease or other diseases. Now, granted, it's not always successful, the body, because the disease may be too far advanced or you're not playing by the rules. And like if you're a smoker and you got lung cancer, pretty self-evident that the body's not going to have a chance to heal itself. But body's an amazing, the brain too, everything about our being created by God is amazing. The body is always working for you, so you don't want to interfere with that. All right. So let me just say one more time. Muscles, they don't move at night. I am a very restless sleeper, but even if I wake up, which I do, I wake up a couple times a night, I can fall asleep sometimes within a minute or less than a minute. Sometimes it's a little longer. Some days I got more in my mind. But the rule applies, and I let my thoughts just go. I don't concentrate on them. Think of it as a stream. Your thoughts will ordinarily flow like a stream. But if you did something to block that stream, so you fixate on a problem, let's say, or something that troubles you, or a fear, the thought stream stops. So what you want to do is not fixate on things. Just let the mind just go. Don't concentrate on the problem at night. Just let it go. And the mind will fall back into the normal thought pattern of, just like a stream, thought stream. And eventually you'll find yourself sleeping. All right, I think that's enough for today. If you're interested in being with me for these lessons, please subscribe to the channel and also hit the notification button. I am dedicated to helping you overcome once for all, though it's going to take time, your anxieties, your depressions. In my opinion, as a pastor, as a student of the Bible, the days that we're seeing coming up ahead of us, I believe they're going to be more difficult than they have been in the past. So if we work together, and I help you, and if you just pray for me, then you're helping me, believe me. If we work together, we will get through this, and we'll come out okay, in Jesus' mighty name. So let me pray for you. Again, I pray for my friends. Bless them, keep them, continue to deliver them from all their oppressions, all their depressions, all their situations, Father. And I pray that in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Okay, so don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, and God willing, the creek don't rise. I'll be with you here again tomorrow on God's answers for anxiety and depression. Thanks for being with me. See you again tomorrow. God bless.